see it is a beautiful day here now that we've begun the official race weekend. No forecast of rain today. I don't think that there's any chance of it tomorrow here either. However, with that lingering storm just kind of still hovering, the humidity, right? The temperature and the humidity, it is a typical VIR summer day.
So here's an interesting one for you stats-wise from what I found out this morning. While we have had drivers start on pole multiple times, of course they get a bonus point for qualifying on pole for their qualifying session that they have on the weekend. We have not had in either of the classes a repeat pole sitter for any driver. So could today finally see that happen? Tom Rogers, Greg Checky, Bill Pelichewski, and Dan Drowan have all taken the top spot in the Masters, whereas it is Anna Checky, Keith Grant, as well as Cody Knight and Ford Koch who have each taken a pole over in the Pro-Am. So each of those drivers have been very fast this weekend. I think we'll have to watch out to see who is going to claim that top spot.
Right now watching, this is the 31, I believe this is Leco going down the back straightaway here. Madison Avenue is what it's known as before you jump onto the brakes into that section that I mentioned to start the show. This is the roller coaster from the top of turn 14. Plunge it down through 15, and then once you get to right about here, it's a fast left-right section that enters you into where, of course, the hog pen. That's where all roller coasters drop you off, apparently.
Well, we need to watch out. Well, I was going to say we needed to watch out for Ford Koch. He just jumped up to pole, and that is a gap of about half a second over Anna Checky. Anna's not on a hot lap right now, so she's probably just cooling the car a little bit, going to push again. Although I look on our feed, she's actually coming into pit lane. Now, she still has plenty of time to get back out there, maybe just reviewing things with her team before she returns.
Focus back on this number 31 car. This is turn number 4 here at VIR. Leads you into the technical sector here of turn 5 and 6 into the lower S's. The snake is also what they call it, and just about trying to keep your car as straight as possible through there to accelerate into those uphill S sections as we get probably one of our favorite liveries on screen here. This is Bill Pelichewski in the 62.
See if this is going to be a push lap for him. Last one was a cool down. He currently sits second in his class, but he is split between himself and Greg Checky by Spencer Proper. Granted, it is only 0.02 of a second between Spencer and Greg. So I'm seeing something in the realm of just under 0.2 between Bill and Greg at the moment for that Masters pole. It could easily change around. Let's see what his first sector is. 42.7, not bad, but it's not a personal best.
No, and you can see it's just a little bit off of what Ford was able to put down just a couple laps ago. We have to remember, though, Ford Koch in that Pro-Am class, while the car we are following right now with Bill Pelichewski in the Masters, I really like this kind of setup that we've got right here, that we're following the 62 on the TV camera, but we also have his in-car camera there on the side ticker. It's pretty neat to have, call it, 2 different views of the same thing.
Absolutely, and this is one of those critical corners. It did look like he got a decent exit as he starts to pick up speed down Madison Avenue, the longest straight on the track. And with these very much being momentum cars, you need to get as good of a run as you can.
I'm actually looking at Spencer Proper here. I know that Anna Checky is on an out lap, and Bill Pelichewski is definitely on a lap right now that he might improve his lap time on the 62, but Spencer Proper's sector number 1 time was only 0.2 of a second off of what Ford Koch was able to put down. He's coming up to the end of sector number 2, and he's also just a couple tenths back here. We'll see what the 62 is able to put down this lap time.
Interestingly, Spencer Proper did not hit personal bests on either of those either, so he's looking very good to maybe jump up the order here. We'll see what happens, as this is the 72 of Greg Checky coming around his last lap. Looks like he did not improve. Oh, as we got a car off down at NASCAR Bend. I
didn't quite grab the car number on that one.
I didn't see either.
I think
32, it looks like.
I think most importantly, though, is did it affect Greg Checky seeing the yellow flag out there, seeing a car out on drivers right in the grass? We're going to see here sector number 1, just a little bit off of the fastest overall. We'll see if he can make up a little bit of ground here in sector 2 and sector 3.
And apologies, that was actually car 59. 32 is Chad Knight, and he had an off earlier on. That was over at turn 12. So the 59 is Todd Rutura, who apparently had a bit of an issue. That is a tricky corner, though, coming into NASCAR Bend with that curved braking.
You're accelerating out of turn number 2, and you're right, it's a curve to the left going into turn number 3, and it's not that drastic of a bleed of speed going in there either. So, yes, you do have to be on the brake pedal. Yes, you do have to turn the car, and it's one of these corners where there's another turn number 4 not too shortly after. So it's really about the rolling speed through turn number 3, Joe, and I think that's why we see so many drivers really try to push the limits in that corner.
Now, I'm surprised we're not seeing much of the way of green sectors here. We've just had one pop up for Anna Checky in Sector 2. This is her dad, the 72, as we mentioned, just coming around to finish his lap. With the cooler temperatures, I would expect we'd see a continued ramping of the track as drivers find more and more speed out there.
That's what I would think as well. I did talk about the weather briefly when we started, and yes, it is cooler, given that it's only, 9:15 a.m. here in Virginia. And oh my goodness, I was just watching in-car. Ford Koch had a huge moment in turn number 3. But to your point about the weather, I think that it's still warm here this morning, right? It's not necessarily cold. We don't necessarily have a dew layer down on the grass or anything like that. So I do agree with you. It is going to get faster, but maybe not as much as what we expected.
I've been kind of keeping an eye on Ford's feed here as well. He's an interesting one because he was only here for Barber earlier in the season. He's not a full-time competitor, and he did say that he's not really concerned with what everybody else is fighting for. He is here strictly for the wins, and he's going to treat it like any other race.
He's competing in a lot of various road racing series here in North America, and so it's great to see him here in Sprint Challenge North America with the Cayman GT4 cars out here, and he is certainly putting on a show. He is currently fastest overall out of anybody, chasing that 152.3 on the board.
And he did take the pole back at Barber, so if he holds on to this spot, he'll be our first repeat pole sitter for the first race. I'm not seeing anybody else improving. Looks like Keith Grant, Greg Checky, Dominique Lecoq, Rob Trollinger have all come into pit lane. Remember, they do need to watch out for these tires, so if you feel like you can't get anything more out of it, might as well park it and hold on to the rubber. And coming down the backstretch, Cody Knight going to try and see if he can return to the top. He's not in a good position so far. He's still down in 6th in his class and 9th overall. This is kind of surprising out of Cody.
Agreed. We typically see him up towards the front of the field fighting for those wins, especially inside the top 5. So maybe this number 3 car has gone out, done a couple laps, kind of getting into the rhythm of things, and then we'll see if he actually picks it up here towards the end. We still have 5 minutes left, and given that he is on the front straightaway, he should get at least 2 more laps.
And I was talking to his dad a little bit yesterday. He said that Cody seemed very confident, especially with how the season has been going. Has found incredible speed. In fact, a lot of improvement this year, doing the first full season that they've had with the North America Series. Last year was a partial season for both of them. And so they're kind of really getting in the swing of things now, being here consistently week after week.
Something that isn't in the swing of things that we typically don't see is Anna Checky has brought it back down onto pit road. She had a decent lap time going. I think she realized it wasn't going to beat her fastest of a 152.9 out there, so she kind of brought it into pit road. But typically out of that CHR team, they run the majority of the session. I wonder if a little bit of a different strategy is kind of creeping into their brains a little bit, trying to save a little bit of tire for the race.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too, especially since even though she's a bit off the pace in compared to Ford,
Front row.
Yeah, she's still front row.
Yeah.
So and that's the important thing. In fact, the start of this race could be important, just trying to get that track position. Now, let's see what second sector is for Cody here, because first one was okay, but again, he wasn't improving, and he should be hitting it just down the middle part of Madison Avenue. This could be important because I'm hoping we'll see some improvement here, and no, it's still just a 42.8.
Yes, but it is closer in terms of the relativity to the fastest sector time, right? Only 0.3 off of the fastest sector versus more like 7 or 0.8 off in sector number 1. So when we talk about VIR and driving it, we do have some serious top speed straightaways out here, the front straightaway, the back straightaway, but all of these corners, they tend to lead into another corner or into another sector. So if you call it below turn number 1 or turn number 2, it's going to affect your run into turn number 3 or even car placement through turn number 3. VIR is a very tricky beast.
Kind of surprised Cody brought it in there. He only had 9,000ths to catch Tom Roger, which is the next car overall, and then it's less than 1/10 of a second up to Todd Ruturo, who's 5th in the Pro-Am. So he only needed a tiny improvement to get up there, but guess he felt like it was better to wrap it up for this qualifying session, as now we follow Chad, who's one of only 3 cars that are actually still out there right now.
Yeah, you see on our graphics there, pretty much everybody is in pit lane, and it's got that pit lane timer with how long they have pretty much entered and been stationary. This is the 88. Just a little bit further back here, and of course this is Jim Johnson, one of my good buddies out here. He's going to be bringing it into pit lane. He is going to end his qualifying session. I think that Jim was probably looking for a little bit more speed out there. That lap time that he put down, definitely not relevant, or I should say, he's typically a little bit faster than that.
Yeah, and Greg Herback as well as Chad Knight will continue on, down to 2 cars left. And these last couple of minutes, Greg, I'm not surprised, because this is actually his first visit here to VIR. He seems to be loving the track and really enjoying how high speed it is.
It is. There's a few racetracks here in North America that you can consider on this level, right? I would consider Road America on this level. I would consider Watkins Glen on this level. But when you talk about the high-speed nature of VIR, these GT4 cars, they're doing at least 150 miles an hour down this back straightaway here. They're going to be matching it maybe a couple mile an hour down on the front straightaway. And then even the run through the uphill S's, they are flying well into the triple digits. That's a little bit wide in the middle of the racetrack there, but was able to keep it on the asphalt, and down through roller coaster the 49 of Herback goes.
Another interesting little tidbit that I'm seeing as far as those repeat pole sitters, both would be the pole sitters from Barber, which would be Ford Koch, and Greg Checky, which, again, we wouldn't really expect because Barber is almost the complete opposite of this track and how twisty it is. But seems like both Greg and Ford have a good handle on this circuit.
Barber definitely the more, call it slower, medium speed track, but the one thing that it does tell us, if you can drive Barber, you can drive a technical racetrack. And VIR, yes, it's incredibly high speed, but look at sector number 1 here. This is probably most reminiscent of, call it, Barber speeds, where it's the most technical section on the racetrack, and I think Herback is actually on a cool-down lap right here, given that we've only got about 15 seconds remaining here in this session.
Yeah, and Chad decided he was going to park it. He didn't go any quicker on the last lap. Neither did Greg Herback. So things stay as they are. A little bit of an anticlimactic finish on the qualifying, but still exciting for Ford to return to the series and put himself on pole, and then Greg Checky to try and fight for the championship, because he's in a battle with Tom Rogers, who is many cars back in the overall, as there is the checkered flag, and that can take us through the finishing order for our Cayman qualifying here today. Finally seen for the first time this season, repeat pole sitters in the qualifying sessions. But Ford Koch, who comes in with a lot of confidence, is going to be on the top spot with a 52.8 It's Anichecki starting next to him. She's fighting for the title, whereas Ford is not. She'll want to try and take that track position early on in the race. Keith Grant is the one that she's fighting with, and he'll start on the second row. Then we get to our pole sitter in the Masters, Greg Checky. As we're taking a look, of course, at the Pro-Ams, and Spencer Proper will be starting fourth in that class. Todd Rutura in fifth, and then finally Cody Knight in the sixth position. And then here is our Masters results, Joey.
Yeah, Masters, Greg Checky, like you mentioned, in that 72, claiming pole position with a 154.1. Bill Pelichewski, that Nervous machine, going to be lined up in second in terms of the Masters class results. Tom Rogers in third, back there with a 54.6, and I'll read through the rest here. Leco, fourth, Ron Reed at fifth, Chad Knight, sixth, Greg Herback, seventh, Rob Trollinger, eighth, and Jim Johnson, ninth in the class results.
That wraps up our qualifying for Cayman. We'll be back with more qualifying a little bit later today as the GT3 Cup will hit the track at 10:55 a.m. Eastern. Make sure and tune in for that.